Hi, everyone. Welcome to Entrepreneurship by Design with Dr. C. I'm so glad you're here with us today because we have an amazing guest, Crunch. Crunch is a conversion copywriter and content creator for changemakers and entrepreneurs who want to make an impact with the money and influence they have in their business. She is a firm believer that we need more diversity, equity, and inclusion in our communities. Crunch helps like-minded business owners harness the power of words to get their message heard by a wider audience and create a bigger impact in the world. Crunch's superpower is writing snazzy blogs and articles and turning the monologues you've been doing on Facebook, Instagram Lives into a summoning spell that magically brings everything together for your ideal clients and appeases the Google gods. Originally from Singapore, but now a self-described global citizen, Crunch has traveled to over 50 countries and lived in a variety of places, including Thailand, Portugal, and Mexico. In her free time, Crunch can be found traveling the world in search of new people, cuisines, and experiences. Thank you so much for being here today, Crunch. It is an absolute pleasure to have you. And I would love for you to just dive into your journey, how you got here today, and then we can go a little bit deeper.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to share about my journey, which has been quite a journey. So I actually kind of fell into entrepreneurship by accident, as I think a lot of entrepreneurs do. What happened was, so way back in 2013, I started traveling. I had this thirst to see the world. So I bought a one-way ticket from Singapore, which is where I was born and raised and spent most of my youth, and I did university there. And then I was like, okay, I'm done with this country. I want to see the rest of the world, right? So I bought a one-way ticket to Buenos Aires, Argentina, on the other side of the world, and started traveling. And I did backpacking through South America. And then, as these things happen, I was traveling on my savings, and eventually the savings started to run out. And I was like, well, I don't want to go back and, get a job. So I'm going to figure out what I can do to keep this travel dream alive. So I got a job teaching English in Costa Rica, and then I ended up teaching English in Panama and in Thailand. And through all of this, I started also working online, which happened kind of, again, by accident. A friend that I met in Costa Rica, one day she was reading my travel blog, which I was basically writing so that my mom would still know that I was alive. So she was reading my blog, and I was like, and she said to me, Crunch, you're a good writer. Would you be interested in writing podcast show notes? And I was like, I have no idea what podcasts are, and I have no idea what show notes are. This was back in 2018, and maybe I was late to the podcast game, but I think they were still fairly new. So I was like, I don't know what that is, but okay, I'll give it a shot. Right? I just started getting introduced to more online business owners and learning more about what it was like to run an online business. And, just really happy at that point where, I was getting a steady flow of clients who were coming in, and, the copywriting business and content writing business was going well and supporting my lifestyle. So I could work from just about anywhere in the world. This was before the pandemic, so it wasn't that common. And, I could be in different parts of the world. I continued traveling. I did a stint in Asia, I did some Europe, I did Central America, and so I've just been all over the place, and it has just been wonderful being able to work remotely and support clients doing work that I'm very good at. And it's funny because recently one of my clients fired me because she was like, Crunch, you've helped me increase my revenue by X amount, and now I'm fully booked in my practice and my wait list is full. I didn't even have a wait list when I first started, but now I started a wait list because people kept coming to me, and now my wait list is also full. So I can't take on any new clients for the next few, I don't know, quarters or whatever. So I'm afraid I'm gonna have to let you go because I can't deal with this many clients, and I don't want to hire. So she had her reason for not wanting to expand her business, but she was at super capacity, and Crunch, you've done such a good job. I'm sorry, but I can't keep you on anymore. I was like, okay, I guess I've done such a great job that I put myself out of a job, which is cool.
It's a good thing. It's a testament to your work.
But yeah, so that kind of along with a personal transition that I went through, kind of started prompt me. It pushed me in the direction of questioning whether this is really what I want to do. Because I don't know if you've heard of the concept of zone of genius, zone of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
things. And, so I started thinking that like maybe this writing work that I do is inside the zone of excellence for me, but not really like my zone of genius, because I started feeling like it was a chore. Like I am very good at doing it, but it was starting to feel like, oh my goodness, I was starting to dread the work. So I have recently started, kind of like exploring what I really want to do, because there is, like, I guess with anything in life, like at some points you have to kind of like take stock of what's working in your life and what's not, so that you can change the parts that are not. In entrepreneurship, like I was loving the part where I could work remotely and like I could connect with people from all over the world and all of that. But the writing bit of it, which was the crux of my business, was no longer really lighting me up anymore. So I was like, okay, I mean, I'm really good at it and I could continue doing this and it is going to pay the bills. It is going to like bring me steady income. But if I'm not super passionate about it and not super enthusiastic about it, and I was in the past, right? But things have shifted. So now I'm no longer super excited about it. And I think that will eventually start coming across in your work that you produce as well. So for me, it was like a sign from the universe to kind of like, okay, what is it that you really want to do? So I started thinking like, maybe I want to go in the direction of something travel related, but also like with a deeper kind of, I don't know, to provide a transformation for people, because for me, travel has been transformational. Like it has changed my life in so many ways, like in all of the ways possible. I can't even begin to like explain how much I've been changed by travel. And I feel like I think that a lot of people would be open to receiving that transformation, just that they don't know how to go about it, because travel can be scary, right? Like you're going to a different country or to a new place and everything is just fresh and new and out of your comfort zone. And that can be very, very like scary for people. And at a certain point also, like people get to a point where they're like, no, I'm too old to do this. Like I've never done it before, I can't. But that's not true, right? Those are stories that you're telling yourself. So I would, like love to help people open up their eyes and like take them on an adventure and like transform their lives in some ways, to realize that, hey, there is actually like a whole world outside, the four walls of your home or the four walls of your office, or, like the small little box that you've been trained and conditioned to live within, right? Because there is a whole world outside of like everything is different beyond your small little perspective. And if you could take that step into a new world, like you would be able to see the possibilities that are open for yourself, right? Even to do things in your life differently that are not working for you, whether it's, you want to work less, or you want to be there for your kids every single football match that they're doing, or, whatever it is that lights you up, or like you enjoy making furniture, but you don't have time to do that because you work 75 hours at your corporate job, right? Or, on your business that is your baby, right? But, I think a lot of those things are also just like society's messaging about like how we should be, instead of, pushing us to discover who we really are and what we really want to do with our lives. So absolutely, that's a very long answer.
No, I love it. I love what you've been through too. And it just goes to show you never have to stay in one industry or one phase of life. There's so much that you can evolve into. And I think that's entrepreneurship in general. But I could really resonate with what you were saying. You're really good at copywriting. Like that's your strength. You know what you're doing. However, you weren't passionate about it anymore. And that's exactly how I felt when I was a therapist. I loved what I was doing in the sense of helping people, transforming their lives internally, inner child healing, everything when it comes to therapy. I loved it. However, it wasn't my passion anymore. And like it took a series of events to really let me see that clearly. But I love that you didn't allow that to stop you. Even though you're really good at this, you're transforming into something different that feels more aligned at this point in your life too. And I think that's such a beautiful thing of knowing we can trust our intuition when it's time to shift gears. And that can be really scary. I know it's terrifying when you've like done something for so long and you're like, I'm going to change now. Like, I know when I left, I was like in I finished my doctorate. I was doing really well. And then I was like, now I'm going to be a coach, move back to Florida, do all these things. And everyone thought I was crazy, but it felt more aligned to me. So I'm curious, with now this transformation, what have been some of the challenges or obstacles that have been coming up for you in that shift from copywriting to now really focusing on travel and transforming lives?
Wow, that's a big question. What
Yeah.
hasn't come? Right. I mean, there's always that fear, right? Like whenever you try to do something different, even though it feels right in your body, we also receive a lot of messaging from society that tells you, like, I mean, it starts from when you're a kid, right? Like you're a child and they ask you, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then I don't know, 35 years have passed and people are still like, but when you were 3, you said you wanted to be a teacher. Like,
Right.
why have you left that dream? I was 3, come on, like.
Let go of the dream.
And I mean, like, not to diss anybody who's still doing like what their childhood dream was. Like, if you found that for yourself and you're happy in that, like, great. But we are humans, we are constantly evolving.
Right.
And it makes no sense for me to want to be stuck in that same thing that you said about yourself, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, right? Like, just because you've been doing something doesn't mean that you have to continue doing that same thing.
Right.
So for me, a lot of there's been a lot of like mindset stuff that I've had to work through, and the whole idea of like, am I going to be able to pay my bills, doing this new thing that brings me joy? Because also another thing that we're told is that if you're doing something that makes you happy, you should be happy making not a lot of money, right? It's why we don't pay teachers very well, because like they're doing such important, useful, meaningful work. Like, why should we pay them? Which is the worst idea ever. We should pay them more.
Exactly.
But like there's that fear of like not being able to pay the bills. And just like, are people going to be like, but you're a copywriter, what are you doing? Like what other people would say. But that's just me, right? Like I'm telling myself these stories that people are going to say these things and that it actually matters. Because honestly, it doesn't. They're not in my life. Like, why do I care what they say, right?
Right.
But we get trapped inside these ideas of like, what do other people think, or what are like these people gonna say? And then it stops us from taking those steps towards fulfilling our highest potential and like living our dreams, right? And it's just, it feels like it's starting from scratch all over again with this new thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's not, because I have all the wisdom that I have collected from the last 5 years of entrepreneurship, running a business and how to grow a business and how to, things that I did that worked and things that I did that didn't work. And like, I have a bigger network now that I didn't have when I first started. So yes, it feels like I'm starting from scratch and it's scary, but I feel like I would regret it if I didn't take this step. Even if it turns out to be a massive failure and I decide like, okay, this is not for me, I'm going to go back to copywriting, that's also fine, right? But if I don't try this, I'm always going to be like, well, what if you had started that, that business that you wanted to, that was calling to you and you didn't, and now you're 95 years old. It's too late to do anything about it now, right?
Well, it's never too late. Might go about it differently.
That's true. Yeah, like travel for geriatrics, isn't it?
I like it. Who knows? You never know. We'll be laughing about this in 60 years. But I love the honesty too, because I do think when we shift gears, because I started in the solar industry about a year ago, and that was like a completely different shift for me. But I think it goes back to, you never know what can happen if you don't try. And I think that's a beautiful lesson in at least putting it out there, because you really have no idea. Yeah, it might fail miserably. I've been in business for 6 years in different capacities, and I have failed so many times over and over again. But I have found things that have worked, and it's just really aligned with your mission and what your values are, and at least putting in the effort. Because if you don't put in the effort, how do you know? And you're always going to have those what ifs, and it's okay if it fails, but it's also a lesson. And I loved what you said. You've been in business for over 5 years now, and being able to apply that wisdom that you've learned through all of those experiences that you've had to now apply that to a different industry, but it's still the same skill sets. And that's what I think is so beautiful about entrepreneurship. You can shift and maneuver in different ways, and not everything's going to stick, but the things that do, it's an incredible ride. And I'm so curious. I would love to hear, because I know you're in the shifting process, but to go back a little bit to the copywriting, I would love to hear I know you already kind of gave a success story from that one client that fired you, which I think is a huge testament. And I already said it, but it's a huge testament to the work and really just leaning into that. But I would love to hear just another success story from a client that you've worked with in the past.
Yeah, okay. I've worked with multiple clients over the years, and one of my clients was able to increase her website traffic. So I was writing blog posts and articles for her website, and she was able to increase her website traffic by 30% consistently. Was it 30%? I might be making up a number here, but it was like a significant jump. I think maybe it was 300%. I am really bad at keeping track of these things.
Math is not my strong suit.
You know, she was going from like, I don't know, 3 to 5 visitors a month to over 100 visitors a month kind of thing.
Oh.
And so she was really happy with that. But yeah, like, I feel like it's one of the things that has a lot of like under-tapped potential for business owners. Like content marketing is really where it's at these days, I think. I mean, just because people are so tired of ads, you know, like they're tired of being sold to. They want you to share from your heart, like what it is that you do, how you help them. And if they decide that like you're the person that they want to work with, they will come look for you. Like you don't have to make everything a sales thing, you know. And that's why I loved writing for my clients, because they were always like, oh, Crunch, can you write me this article about how I get you know, these solutions that I have that help this specific person with these problems. You know, that the intention was never to sell anything that they had. It was always like, everybody I talk to has this problem and I have the solution. Like, can you just help me write an article that will help them solve the problem, right? Like, they just wanted to help people. And then like, obviously, if you're giving out that much value for free through your articles or through your content or through emails that you send out with like helpful tips or strategies or whatever it is, you know, people will be like, you know, when I have an actual problem that I want to pay someone to solve for me, they're the person I'm going to seek out, right? Because I've already received so much value for free. And they've never made me feel like gross or icky or, you know, salesy in that way of like, buy my stuff, because I feel like that's where things break down fairly quickly when you spend every waking communication, like every single piece of communication that goes out, if it's made with a sales intent rather than with a value proposition, then, you know, like, then it can get very like, and people don't subscribe and people don't work with you because they don't like being sold to. Like, I'm sure you feel it too, like in the stuff that you see, right? So whatever you experience, your clients are, or like your audience is also experiencing, right? So don't be that person that you don't like in your inbox or so, bit of a tangent there, but
No, I love that. And I think you're so spot on too, because it really is about helping people. A lot of people get into different industries because they want to help. They want to see people thrive in whatever capacity it is, whether it's content writing, whether it's travel, whether it's solar, whether it's life coaching, whatever it is, right? Like, but I think it's just understanding the value that you bring and just educating people, giving them the awareness, because ultimately they're going to want to work with you. I've seen so many people, so many walks of life where just people start coming to them because of what they're putting out there, because you feel their heart. Like, I mean, I'm sure you do too, just from like the people that you've worked with. You feel that energy where somebody really genuinely cares about you versus like, here, buy my product. Here's my service. It's like, nice. I know. But understanding that the value that's added. And I'm so curious because I know you've had years of experience in different capacities, but what are maybe a few tips you can give entrepreneurs that are on this journey?
I would say don't be afraid to take risks and, you know, try things out, you know, like give things a shot. Like maybe to you, it doesn't make sense, But if it has worked for somebody else, like, and they're telling you, like, especially if you're working with like a business coach, for example, or you're working with somebody who's like a sales mentor or whatever, they're telling you like, try this method, and you're just like, no, that's never going to work. That attitude is not going to help you, right? If you ask someone for advice, you have to at least give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, try it. And then if it doesn't work, then you can go back and tell them, like, I tried your thing and it doesn't work. Like, give me something else, right? But if you don't even try it, like, you will never know. The other thing I would say is that, like, there's a lot of information, or people are sharing a lot of tips and tricks and like strategies and how to do entrepreneurship, so to speak, or like how to market your business, whatever. But I think you understand your people the best. So if sometimes you feel like this is not going to work with my people, then don't do it. You know, like, I know a lot of business coaches say, like, you need to have urgency in your offers, like, needs to expire within 30 seconds or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
If you feel like that's not what your clients are about, or like what your audience is about, and they will see through you in 2 seconds when you come to them with this offer that's expiring or whatever, then don't do it, because you understand your audience the best, right? Like, unless you're working like personalized attention from a business coach or whatever, like, if they understand your business really well and your audience really well, then like maybe there's a different dynamic there. But if you're getting free advice from like random people on the internet for telling you to do this and do that, they don't know you, your people, like you know your people. Right. So trust yourself when it comes to making the final decision. Mm-hmm. And you know, like, if you decide that, like, no, this strategy is not going to work for me, then I'll find something else that will. You know, like, if it resonates with you, it's probably going to resonate with your people, right? So, I guess those are 2 tips.
I love those, because I do agree so wholeheartedly with the fact that you know your business well, and if somebody's helping you and knows your business inside and out, it's great. But a lot of times there's so many shiny objects, right? We're like, oh, I got to try this. I got to try that. Like, especially in the beginning, when what you don't know, you don't know. But I think it's really understanding when we are really aligned with our mission and really focused on what makes sense to us. Because I agree, I am not that person like, buy this now, do this right now, like 30 seconds. Like, I love that example, because it's true. That's what it feels like sometimes, where it's like, oh, I got to make a decision right now. And I like to have a thoughtful, like, okay, well, the pros and cons list and everything. I don't like impulsively make a decision. It's very calculated when I make a decision. I think a lot of people are like that too, but it's finding your tribe, and the people that want to work with you, they will find you. Just like we were talking about, like when you attract, like, you know, you are able to see, oh, this makes sense for me based off of like maybe following a coach for a while, or a marketing strategist or content creator, or whatever it may be, but really finding what works best for you, because it's not a one size fits all. And I'm a firm believer in that. And that's what even creating this channel was about, bringing different walks of life, different backgrounds, to understand everybody is completely different and how you go about it is different. But you might take a few things from different people and make it your own, which is beautiful, because then it resonates with you. The parts that don't, leave them out. That's okay. And I think that's the part of it. And I'm so curious, because I know you have a lot of different experiences, but what has been some of the tools that you've used in your business to grow your business, and what do you plan on using too as you transition?
That's a great question. So some of the tools that I use on a daily basis, I like Zoom, which is what I use to connect with clients on a virtual basis. Like, most of my business is going to be virtual, even with the travel aspect in there.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I use Trello to kind of like keep track of things that I have to get done, projects that I'm working on in my business. And also, like, I use it for my content calendar to keep track of like what I'm posting when, so that I have, you know, things lined up, like in terms of like, if I'm launching in a month, I want to have all of these posts go up, so that, you know, so that people are aware of it before it actually launches. And then when it launches, they're ready to, and like willing to spend their dollars there, right? Like, because you've already like prepared them with all of the great information that's relevant to this. And then you can finally, like, when it launches, say, hey, this is happening now. Like, if you want to join the paid container, it's here, and this is how to do it, right? But if you don't have, like, if you don't keep track of your content like that, it can get very overwhelming if you're trying to like post every single day, for example, which people seem to think is what works. I don't think it necessarily works for every business. You can't get away with posting less. but being able to post stuff consistently that creates value and provides some sort of information to your people. It is very taxing to kind of do that every single day, which is why it's helpful to do that in a batch, like you batch 1 month of content or 2 weeks of content or whatever, so that you don't have to think about it every single day. And Trello helps me keep track of it. There's a power up on Trello that you can use, that's the calendar view, and you can like see all of your posts there. So you might want to like experiment with that if you don't have like a content management platform that you're using. Apart from that, what are some other tools that I use? Well, I use stuff for my like copywriting stuff. And since we're in the age of AI, I guess I will say AI can be a helpful tool if you want to give it a shot, but I would say use with caution and use with discretion. Like it's a great tool for like brainstorming ideas, for kind of getting the flow of things started, but it can't be the end of the process. Like you're not going to take stuff from ChatGPT and throw it into your content post or your blog post or whatever and call it a day, because that stuff gets penalized by search engines. So don't do that.
Good to know.
Yeah, you can use it as a like starting off point, because that's where people get stuck on. Like, what do I even say? Right. And you ask ChatGPT and it tells you what to say, and then you're like, okay, I can say this, but I will say it in the way that I would say it. This will right. Yeah, I think like those are some of the tools that I use.
I love it. No, those are very helpful. And I think it's important to recognize with AI and chat GPT, I always have to like say it out loud. But understanding a starting point, it gives you creative ideas, or like even just like, okay, where can I network more, or where can I do this? And it'll give you great ideas, but not copy and pasting it, like being able to use with caution. But I think it's really important just to recognize there's so many tools out there, but not everything is going to be the right fit, but recognizing just to have something, being able to organize your time, and batching, I think, is such a key element, because it saves so much time and energy, especially if you have multiple things you're doing, or you just want to really live your life and be present and not have to be around, oh, wait, I have to post today. But, there's a lot of misconceptions out there of how much to post, when to post, what to do. But I think it goes back to trusting your own intuition and trusting that you're doing what's best for you and your business. And that's where I think it's so powerful that you're on today talking about that transformation piece of what you've been doing and where you're going. And I'm so curious, because I know we kind of touched on it, but what are your future goals or aspirations for this new business that you're creating?
Wow, that's a great question. Like, right now, my new business still feels like a baby bird that I don't want to show anybody for fear that like they'll laugh at it. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that like I feel I would love for my new business to be able to provide people with a chance to wake up. I mean, I know I've been talking to a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners and people in corporate who are feeling like, what the hell, like what is going on in this life that I'm living, right? Like I've done all the things that society has told me, right? I went to college, I got a good job, like I got the promotions, I got the spouse, got the kids, got the house, got the car, got everything, checked all the boxes. And yet, like, I still feel like something's missing. I feel unsatisfied, like something is not right, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are getting to this point where they're like, well, I've done this for 20 years already, and I have another 20 years to look forward to. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Right. And at this point, like people have, I don't know, they get into a space of like, really, is this all there is? And I think that can be a powerful moment for transformation, for shift in your life, to create a life that you enjoy, right? Like we're not on this earth to be cogs in a machine, or serving somebody else's purpose, or working in a factory so that Jeff Bezos can be a multi-billionaire or whatever he is these days. Like that's not our purpose in life as human beings, right? We're here to create art, to create music, to enjoy our lives, to be outside, to play in the garden, to go swimming. I don't know, whatever it is that brings you joy. And I don't think for a lot of people that joy can be found inside an office cubicle where you're working 75 hours a day, 75 hours a week, doing rubbish, like writing emails that people are like, okay, seen, I will reply to your email tomorrow. And it's just like a pointless thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would ideally love to like help people find that joy in other parts of their life via travel, like come on a trip with me. When you travel, like your life can be transformed, right? Like everything about travel is magical. I mean, it's difficult sometimes, it's challenging, almost always, but it is also a very rewarding experience to be able to experience different things, like how other people are living, where they find joy, how they find joy in different aspects of their lives, and how money has very, very little to do with how we find and experience joy in our lives, right? So I would love to be able to bring that to more people and, help them discover that they can create a life that they enjoy living. So they don't have to dread the next 40 years of their existence or wait till they're 75 so that they can go to Disneyland finally.
Right. And I love it. I love the mission you're on. And I do think so many people, especially around the pandemic, I think a lot of people started to do a little bit more soul searching of realizing there's more to life and things can change so quickly if you let them, but also realizing living more of a full life. And that's where I feel like a lot of people have navigated towards and migrating to it. But I do think travel has such a unique aspect to it, even if you're just traveling to a different city or location or restaurant or whatever it may be. But I think there's something that speaks volumes, at least to me. I like definitely resonate with what you're saying, because I do think I get exposed to different cultures. I'm like, I want to know, what are they doing every day? Like, what makes them happy? What goes on here? Like, what language are they speaking? Whatever it may be. But I think there's just so much beauty and richness in travel and being able to awaken that. But I've been so enjoying this conversation, Crunch. Where can people find you? Use your services. We're going to link everything below. I know you're going in a transition right now, but we'll still have everything linked.
You can connect with me via my website, which is ranjani.com. Probably the website's going to be overhauled soon, but I will still be there because that's my website. That's my space on the internet. And you can also connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook, Ranjani, and I will appear everywhere that I am available to connect with you. So looking forward to connecting with all of you wonderful folks.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Crunch. I so enjoyed this conversation. You are such a light in this world, and I cannot wait to see what transforms from travel and just really helping people in really realizing their purpose and what's to come from there. I know a huge part of entrepreneurship is transformation. I know that's what we were talking about a lot, but I think it's just really the depth of what it can look like, and it's okay to shift gears. And I think it's important to highlight that. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing your energy with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure and joy to be here.
Absolutely. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment below. What was the biggest takeaway from Crunch today? I'm sure she would love to see that comment, and we'll see you on the next episode.